You've booked your first ever podcast guest, and now you don't know how to prepare. Keep watching, I'm going to show you how. How to prepare for your podcast. The first thing you're going to look at is actually core themes. What do I mean by core themes? This is going to be the same patterns that you're going to have across all of your episodes and podcasts that you're going to record. This ultimately is going to be your marketing message or even your content buckets that you're going to use. Example, for me and my podcast, The Main Journey, I focus on entrepreneurship, I focus on performance coaching, and then also travel and lifestyle. And I'm tailoring all of this towards men between the ages of 18 to 35. This gives me consistency across all of my episodes that I record. So first up, you have to decide on your core themes for your podcast. The second thing that you're going to do is to list some repeatable questions that you would potentially like to use on every single episode. For me, I have one question that I ask all of my guests. That question is, what advice would your future self give you in this present moment? This one question gives me a powerful insight into the guest's headspace in that current moment. Plus, it creates some amazing content for me to repurpose and reuse elsewhere. So number 2 is to list the repeatable questions that you would like to use and to ask every one of your guests that comes onto your podcast. Number 3 on how to prepare for your first podcast is going to be doing your research on your guest. For me, I like to prepare a dossier, which is ultimately a single page document that gives me loads of information about the guest that's coming onto my show. In this dossier, I'm going to have links to their social media, maybe the books that they've wrote, maybe it's the videos or the podcasts that they've created. By doing this and creating a dossier, this allows me to have a better knowledge about that guest that's coming onto the show. This allows me to skip past the initial conversation and skimming the surface of what is an important conversation. It allows me to go straight into the details. It allows me to really get the best out of my guest whilst they're on my show. I personally also think that this shows a level of respect to that guest that is coming onto your show. To create this dossier, again, I go onto all of their social medias, I check out their websites, I read their posts, I listen to their podcasts, I read their books. This allows me to prepare accordingly. It also makes it a little bit more fun. So step number 3 is to create a dossier for every single guest that comes onto your show. You're not going to share this with them. This is just for you and your own benefit to do your research. Number 4 in how to prepare for your podcast. This is actually going to be to pre-record an introduction to the show. This is something I'm currently working on and aiming to improve, but I pre-write all of my intros for when a guest comes onto the show. This allows me to create a seamless start to each episode. Now, you can either record this whilst live with the guest, or you can record this after you have done the full podcast and add this post-edit. Ultimately, you want to have a powerful intro that is going to bring that guest into the show and keep your listeners hooked and ready to watch the full episode. Number 5 is going to be a very simple one, and that is to set up reminders. What I mean by reminders is that if your guest has booked for the show maybe a month beforehand, they may have forgotten. So you want to follow up with them, send them reminders on social media or via email. If you've used an online calendar like Calendly, you can set up automatic reminders, but ultimately you just want to make sure that your guest is actually going to show up on time and ready to go. So add reminders to your process. Number 6 is going to be file sharing. And what do I mean by file sharing? So when a guest comes onto my show, what I do is I provide them with all of the content that I have created. This can be the raw files of the podcast, the audio, all of the different cameras that I've got set up to record. I give them access to all of this. Plus, once everything is edited, the long form, the medium form, the short form videos, I also send all of this across to them as well. They have access to everything and they can use it however they please. If this is something you want to set up, then you need to find a way to store this content and send it to them. Personally, I use Dropbox, but there are other options to do this as well. Number 7 is a pre-recording checklist. In this pre-recording checklist, you're going to have a list of things that you need to do or to check before hitting record. This could be as simple as checking that your microphone is not on mute. It could be as simple as checking that your camera is focused, that the lights are on, that you've turned your phone on to do not disturb, that all the notifications are off. You've checked with the guest how much time that they have. Things like this that are going to allow for a seamless recording when you're actually going live. So make sure you have that pre-recording checklist. So to give you a quick overview of all of those points, number 1 is going to be decide your core themes. Number 2 is going to be decide your repeatable questions. Number 3 is going to be doing your guest research and creating a dossier. Number 4 is going to be recording your intro. Number 5 is going to be setting up your reminders. Number 6 is going to be sharing of the files. Number 7 is going to be creating your pre-recording checklist. That is everything today on how to prepare for your first podcast. I hope that you have enjoyed this video today. If you've got value from it, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really does help me in helping more people. I appreciate you being here and I'll see you soon.